didn't hear it! Shut up!
Let me go!
Rudy! Don't shoot! I surrender! Go! He'll get you first!
Let go of me!
Today on Rewind, a closer look. We're riding our motorcycles into 1976's Live Like a Cop, Die Like a Man, an Italian crime flick that throws all restraint out the window and replaces it with motorcycles, chaos, and two of the most unhinged cops you'll ever see on screen. These guys don't follow the rules. They don't even seem to know that rules exist. It's fast, it's reckless, and it's got that raw, did they just film this in the middle of real traffic energy that only these movies can deliver. But is it a hidden gem of pure action insanity, or just a complete mess held together by vibes and bad decisions? Let's find out. The movie kicks off with the opening credits, playing over two guys riding together on a motorcycle through some Italian city. And right away, those close-up shots, you can clearly tell they're just being towed on a trailer. The bike's swaying back and forth, the guys are wobbling all over the place, and the dude on the back looks like he's trying not to fall out of the frame, like, hey man, stay in your lane, you're blocking my shot. We cut to outside a bank, I think. I can't read Italian. It's Christmas time, there's a Santa ringing a bell, and I'm sitting here wondering if that's gonna matter at all. Future me can confirm, it does not. This is the only Christmas reference in the entire movie. Anyways, some guy leaves the bank, walks around the corner, throws on a helmet, and hops on the back of a waiting motorcycle. They just sit there idling like absolute pros. A woman comes out of the bank, walks past them, and boom, they gun it and snatch her purse. Problem is, her arm is either stuck in the strap or she's handcuffed to it, because she gets dragged down the street and smashes headfirst into a post. The bike stops. One of the guys gets off and starts kicking her to get the bag. Like, buddy.
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
Then our two opening credit heroes roll up. The guy on the back jumps off to check on her, while the driver immediately pops a wheelie and takes off after the thieves. The blonde guy realizes she's gone, looks around, spots a random dirt bike sitting on a trailer across the street, just completely unsecured by the way. He steals it and joins the chase. Good thing nobody tied that down, very convenient. And now we're off to the races. The chase rips through tight, busy streets, and this is where the movie actually gets kind of wild. The dirt bike guy jumps up onto the sidewalk, weaving through people. The POV shots look great, and there is no way they had permits for any of this. This looks like they just sent it through real traffic and hope for the best. At one point, the dark-haired guy gets sideswiped by a car. He flies straight into a store, spins around, and on his way out, just wipes out every table like it's part of the plan.
Oh yeah, great plan.
Meanwhile, dirt bike guy is out here doing wheelies and literally driving over top of cars. These two are now fully committed. They finally catch up to the thieves, and the speed just keeps ramping up as they head out of the city. And at this point I'm thinking, these guys better be cops, because if they're just good Samaritans, this is a wild amount of effort. The chase keeps going, lots of turns, lots of chaos, and then the thieves fake them out, head straight for a massive staircase, and then bail at the last second, while our two geniuses go flying down the stairs.
A massive stair set of doom.
And you're thinking, well, that's that, they got away. And nope, next scene they're right back on him again. How?
It doesn't matter.
Out of nowhere, we get one of the most insane moments in the movie. A blind guy with a seeing eye dog is crossing the street, looking straight out of Death Race 2000.
All right, and yes, sirree! A clean hit, a perfect hit, and no pain for the target.
And the thieves are flying up towards him and just run over his dog. Didn't see that coming. They better hope that wasn't a blind John Wick situation.
You fucked up his dog. That's what you did. You fucked up his dog. That's crazy shit, man.
Our guys blast past the blind man, who's just standing there calling for his dog. And he does this cool little move with his cane right as they fly by.
Argus, where are you?
Honestly, nice touch. The chase keeps going, more stairs, more swerving, more near misses, until finally the road opens up enough for our guys to box the thieves in and force them into a back of a parked truck with the ramps down. The thieves crash hard. Our guys jump off their bikes and run over. One thief is wrecked inside the truck. The other is laying on the ground, barely alive. The dark-haired guy starts trying to help him, stabilizes his neck, and then just casually snaps it.
You snap your fingers. You snap your necks.
Problem solved. Eventually the cops show up, take over the scene, and our two guys just pick up their bike and leave. No explanations, no questions. And I'm just sitting here wondering, are these guys cops? Vigilantes? Psychopaths? Also, why are two grown men riding around together on one motorcycle like this the whole time?
Gay!
So after all that, they roll up to somewhere. I have no idea where they are. They ring a bell, a little window in the door slides open, and one of them goes, "We're back." And I'm immediately thinking, this better not be some weird underground sex club. But thankfully, it's actually some kind of secret police headquarters. Our two lunatics stroll inside like they own the place, and for absolutely no reason, the blonde guy grabs a random potted plant and just keeps walking with it. They head into an office, a woman walks in, and he tries to hand her the plant like it's a gift. She just shuts that down instantly and tells him to put it back where he got it from. They ask if there's any jobs coming up, and she mentions a gang is planning to rob a jewelry store. And then immediately the conversation derails into which one of them gets to sleep with her first. And it just keeps going. Way longer than it should. Like, what kind of police station is this? Meanwhile, outside, a guy in a red car pulls up to the secret entrance, but he's being watched by a group sitting in another car. Out of nowhere, a dude on a motorcycle rolls up, pulls out an ice pick, and loudly starts stabbing the tires like he's trying to be seen. Then he just casually drives off and parks around the corner like nothing happened. Inside, the red car guy is now telling our heroes that in 1 hour he's going to catch some Roberto Pasquini guy. So they ask him if he's found him, and he's like, no. But he's got the next best thing, a friend who might introduce him. The blonde guy asks if he's going to meet with that friend. Again, no. Somehow this turns into him blaming our guys for being impossible to find earlier. Sure, whatever, buddy. Then we finally get some names thrown around, Rick, Fred, and Tony, but good luck figuring out who's who because the movie just doesn't seem to care. We cut back outside just to remind us that the Watchers are still out there. Then we jump into the chief's office where he's announced he's been approved to create a special undercover squad, and they've been given a supercomputer whose brain can predict from memory, which apparently means they can move first 100% of the time. Okay, what? He then calls the red car guy Rick and starts chewing him out. Says he doesn't trust this informant and needs to actually check his sources. And while all that's going on, Rick also gives our guys 2 addresses tied to Pasquini's gambling operations, which ends up being the only useful information to come out of this entire conversation. The chief turns to our 2 maniacs and says he's not happy with all the dead bodies they leave behind, but also isn't really questioning them because he's the one who has to explain it to the commissioner. So Rick gets chewed out for bad intel while these 2 basically get a shrug for killing people. Sure, why not? Rick then lays out this insanely convoluted plan involving a drug dealer informant and a real estate deal to catch Pasquini if he shows up. The chief immediately shuts it down because he doesn't trust the source. And I'm sitting here wondering why we just spent all that time explaining a plan that just gets shut down and goes nowhere. The chief asks how their little morning operation went, and they casually explain, yeah, the guys were there, they drove like crazy and died. One got impaled on the gear shift and the other broke his neck. The chief kinda starts to question it, then just gives up and tells them to leave. As they're walking out, the dark-haired guy immediately stops to flirt with the secretary again, because of course he does. And we still don't know which one is Fred and which one is Tony. They leave the HQ, and outside Rick is walking back to his car, completely unaware he's being watched. The guys in the other car finally make their move, pull out a gun, and the second Rick stops to check his slashed tires, boom, one of them blasts him with a shotgun. And just like that, goodbye, Rick. We hardly knew ya. The shooters jump back in their car and peel out, and right on cue, Fred and Tony come riding out of the HQ on their motorcycle. They roll up just in time to watch Rick slump over and die next to his car, and while they're standing there processing that, the goon on the motorcycle decides to make his escape. He guns it straight past them, and this is amazing, he just kicks their bike over as he goes by. The two of them go down hard, roll on the ground, they immediately draw their guns and start blasting. They hit the guy, he flies off his bike, slams into a car, rolls over the roof, and then another car plows into him, crushing him between the two. I mean, wow, that guy is done. They run back over to Rick, crouch beside him, but yeah, he's not making it.
In the arms of the angel.
Later that night, Fred and Tony are now in a car, heading to one of the gambling houses Rick told them about earlier. So hey, that info actually mattered. They pull up and immediately go to work. And by go to work, I mean they beat the absolute hell out of the valet and the doorman without even attempting a normal entrance. No knocking, no talking, just straight to violence. They drag both guys off into a dark corner, cuff them up, tape their mouths shut, and then the dark-haired guy heads back to his car and starts unloading gas cans. He comes back and starts pouring gasoline all around the tied-up valet and doorman. And I'm sitting here like, is he actually about to light these guys on fire? But before that can happen, a car pulls up. So blonde guy runs over, pretends to be the valet, takes the keys, and parks it like nothing's wrong. Meanwhile, dark-haired guy is just going full arson mode, dumping gas everywhere. And now they're both pouring it all over cars in the lot. Mercedes, Porsches, Jags, BMWs. They even top it off with a Ferrari and the Rolls Royce the blonde guy just parked. Then they lay down a trail of gas, pull out these massive torches like they're about to summon something, and light the whole thing up. And I'm thinking, you probably could have done that with a single match, but sure, go big. The entire lot goes up in flames, including the car they drove there in. And they just stand there laughing about how they're going to have to walk back to town. Apparently they grabbed that car from the impound, so no big loss. These guys are unreal. The next day we cut to two guys talking about the fire, and I'm guessing the guy in the sunglasses is Pasquini, because you know, sunglasses equals bad guy. He's meeting with a dirty police inspector who's clearly on his payroll. The inspector says he has no idea who started the fire, and Pasquini's like, yeah you do, because he's already figured out it was two cops. He found their burnt up car and their handcuffs, and did his own little investigation. But because Fred and Tony are part of this secret undercover squad, the dirty cop doesn't officially know anything. Pasquini pays him anyway and asks about the special squad that's been formed, and the inspector says it doesn't even officially exist, but then just casually drops Fred's name, and I'm still sitting here like, okay, cool. Which one's Fred? We cut to blonde guy waking up in bed. Alarm goes off. He gets up and heads to the bathroom in some stylish, totally not gay, bright red briefs. He starts shaving, and then the doorbell rings. He just yells out for Fred to get it, and Fred walks in from off screen. No shirt on, and now I'm sitting here like, oh, okay, so they live together too? All right. But hey, at least we know who's who now. Dark hair guy is Tony, played by Mark Porrell, and the blonde guy is Fred, played by Ray Lovelock. Only took about 30 minutes. At the door is Rosa, who at this point, I have no idea who she is. Turns out she's the maid. The guys finish getting ready, pay her, make some weird sex joke about her niece, and then just head out. We cut to what looks like a shot ripped right from Naked Gun. But no, it's an ambulance heading to a crime scene. There's a full-on standoff. A group of armed guys have a woman hostage inside a house. Why? No idea. They rough her up a bit, drag her outside as a human shield, and demand a getaway car, giving the cops a phone number and saying they'll only negotiate over the phone from now on. The commissioner shows up, gets briefed, and inside the house, the guys are getting more and more nervous waiting for their car. Then, of course, Fred and Tony roll up together on their motorcycle.
Gay!
Because apparently owning a car is just not an option for these two. The commissioner says he called them and tells everyone to back off, and Fred just leans on a fence like he's here to watch a show. Inside, the goons see the cops pulling back and start celebrating, even asking the hostage where the booze is so they could toast their success. Only for one guy to take a drink and he just immediately spits it all out because he says it's garbage. Okay, beggars can't be choosers there, buddy. Outside, the commissioner's talking it over with Fred and Tony, and they point out the obvious. These guys have already killed people, and if you give them a car, they'll just dump the hostage and do it all over again. The commissioner basically shrugs and says fine, give him the car anyway. Our two push back, saying you're risking the public either way, and the commissioner hits him with a, yeah, the only lives you guys like to risk are your own, which honestly feels pretty accurate. They toss around ideas. Fred suggests using a helicopter for the element of surprise, which, okay, not sure how that helps, but they roll with it. The cops call inside, tell them the car will be ready at 1. So at 1, Fred pulls a car in a position, the goons come out with the hostage in front, and immediately complain the car isn't close enough. Fred tries to reverse it up the hill and stalls it, repeatedly, which explains why he's always right on the back of the motorcycle. The helicopter flies overhead, the goons panic and run back inside, and I'm just sitting here like, wait, that was the plan?
Great plan.
And then, without hesitation, Tony just drives his motorcycle straight through a glass door and blasts 2 guys. Fred runs in the front and shoots the last one. Tony shoots him again, and Fred shoots him again just to be sure. And I'm left wondering, who were these guys? Why were they even doing this? What was the point of the helicopter? Why didn't Fred and Tony just bust in immediately? Honestly,
It doesn't matter.
we cut to a car park where 2 guys are beating the hell out of someone and dragging him over to a car where Pasquini is sitting in the back like a boss. Turns out this guy was Rick's informant, and Pasquini find out he was talking to the cops. So as punishment, he has one of his goons just casually gouge out the guy's eye.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
We then jump to some apartment where a phone is ringing. A woman is yelling for someone to answer it, and an older lady finally picks it up, while the younger one says it might be her brother. Turns out it's Pasquini. He asks her if she got the money and tells her to spend it. Says he'll be home soon and hangs up. And I'm sitting here like, okay, what was all the point of that? Back at HQ, Fred and Tony are with the chief, who pulls down the poster of the hostage guy they just killed earlier and says the operation was a success, which is debatable. Then he immediately says he didn't like their methods and reminds them that another rule of the special squad is they can't endanger civilians, regardless of age, which feels like a very specific thing to point out for no real reason. He tells them to sit. Tony decides he'd rather stand because apparently that matters somehow. The chief then explains they've bugged the phone on a house Pasquini used to live in 4 years ago. His cousin takes care of it now with his younger sister, and I'm just thinking, so in 4 years, Pasquini has never called them because he literally just called them earlier and nobody mentions that. What's the point of bugging a phone if no one is actually listening? The chief hands them the address and tells them to check it out. But right then the phone rings and he's told an armored truck is about to be robbed at noon. Fred and Tony immediately perk up like this is what they've been waiting for, and the chief just shuts it down. Says it's not a concern of theirs and the guards can handle it. Yeah, okay. This guy might be the worst chief of all time. So the boys are like, yeah, we're going to go get a coffee, which obviously means they're going to go straight to that bank. Cut to the boys having coffee. So I guess I was wrong about the going straight to the bank. But then Tony gets up, walks to the door, and sure enough, there's the bank right across the street. He starts scanning the area, and sure enough, the robbers are already moving into position outside. Fred and Tony, being the absolute super cops that they are, just jump right into the action. Tony casually walks up to the guy sitting in a car and just shoots him with the silenced pistols. I hope that was one of the robbers. Fred strolls past another guy, hides his gun inside a newspaper, and just pops him too like it's nothing. And when the rest of the robbers move in on the armored truck, Fred and Tony just mow them all down in broad daylight with crowds of people everywhere. Good thing these guys never miss. And when it's all over, they just casually walk back to their motorcycle, hop on together, and slowly drive past the bodies like they didn't just wipe out the whole crew in the middle of the street. They head straight over to the address the chief gave them, like they didn't just commit a public murder 10 minutes ago. They go inside, ask the guy at the front desk what floor Pasquini lives on, and when he doesn't answer, they immediately start roughing him up. Which raises the question, if they've got this place bugged, shouldn't they already know where he lives? Or is this just an excuse to bully someone? Either way, the guy caves, gives them the info, and they head upstairs. At the apartment, the doorbell rings. The younger woman yells for the older lady to answer it, and when she looks through the peephole, she sees the guys, who for some reason look like they're holding hands.
Gay!
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
She opens the door with the chain still on. Smart. Tony asks if Pasquini's there, and she just casually tells them no, but his sister Lena lives there now, which feels like information you probably shouldn't give to two random guys at your door.
Not a great plan.
They flash their badges, and she lets them in. They ask to look around. She says, not without a warrant. Tony just hands her a random piece of paper. She doesn't even look at it, just hands it back and lets them search the place anyway. Incredible police work. Fred takes the older woman into the kitchen, while Tony heads into Lena's room. She's blow-drying her hair, completely ignoring him. He asks where her brother is. She turns up the music instead of answering. So Tony just sort of smacks the radio until it shuts off. She gets mad, starts calling him out about it, and he just straight up slaps her. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the older woman admits, yeah, Pasquini does call, but only from payphones and only for short conversations, and he sends them money to live on. Even says he really cares about his sister, which makes what's happening in the other room even worse, because in the background, you can hear Tony and Lena suddenly getting friendly, like very friendly, immediately after meeting, and yeah, after he just hit her too. And then when Tony comes back out, Fred just goes right in next. And at this point, I'm just sitting here like, wow, Pasquini is really not going to like this. Back at the HQ, the boys are at it again, trying to gift the secretary the same random potted plant like it's some kind of running gag. She immediately shuts it down and tells him that the chief is not happy. Inside his office, he's laying into them for wiping out all the armored car robbers, and then drops this gem that when they were tested for the special squad, every single result showed that their basic traits were criminal.
Smooth criminal.
And I'm just sitting there like, okay, so you still hired them though? Tony fires back saying that those are exactly the traits you need to be a cop, and the chief hits him with results like that, I'm surprised you even became cops, which honestly might be the most accurate line in the whole movie. So as punishment, he tells them they're only allowed to work on the Pasquini case and hands them the second address Rick gave them before he died. Wow, real harsh punishment there. So naturally, the boys hop back on their shared motorcycle and head to the new location, which turns out to be another gambling house. This one down by the river.
Down by the river.
And way less fancy. Tony grabs a guy outside having a smoke. He flashes his badge, and the guy immediately whistles and yells, "Cops!" sending everyone inside running. Fred waits out front, grabs another random guy trying to get away, and they drag both of them inside, beat them around for a while, and then cuff them to an overhead pipe, and then just sit there playing cards while these guys are literally hanging from their wrists. Tony starts asking where Pasquini is, and when they don't talk, he just starts swinging them back and forth.
Swing a bit more.
I swing a bit less.
But we both swing if you know what.
Tony then grabs him by the balls and squeezes. And yeah, I'm thinking he enjoys that way too much. They still don't give anything up. So they switch it up, and Fred takes a turn. He does more of the same, but the guys stick to their story. They don't know anything. They're not trusted with that kind of information. So after all that, Fred and Tony just leave. No info, no progress, nothing gained. And at this point, we're 20 minutes from the end of the movie, and they are no closer to finding Pasquini, than they were at the start. And honestly, that's kind of the formula for these movies. They just kind of bounce around doing random stuff until suddenly, right near the end, it's time to actually deal with the main plot. The old lady from Pasquini's sister's apartment hops on a streetcar and meets up with Pasquini, and he asks her for the description of the two guys. She must have given him something useful, because next thing we see, she's getting off the streetcar. Pasquini and his goons step off too and head over to a car where the crooked inspector is waiting. Pasquini tells them that the cops after him work as a pair and he wants their names. But the inspector says he's suddenly been transferred to the Azores and he's done helping. And Pasquini just shuts that down immediately. Like, no, you're not done until you just get me those names. So yeah, this guy's not getting out of that deal anytime soon. We cut to a rock quarry where Fred and Tony are just casually setting up camps, and they start shooting at them while flipping and diving around, bullets landing inches away from each other's heads, like they're doing some kind of trust exercise with live ammo. These guys are either amazing shots, completely insane, or just flat out retarded. My vote is for all three. And while they're busy doing that, armed goons are sneaking up all around them. But surprise, the boys knew about them the whole time. They were just pretending. They make a break for it, split up. Tony takes the bike, Fred on foot. The goons open fire, and Fred just kind of runs around for a bit, then casually just drops a guy on a hill with one shot. Meanwhile, Tony is flying around on the motorcycle, jumps over a guy, then just kind of bails off the back of the bike mid-run, hits the ground and shoots him dead. Now with both guys on foot, Tony's running again. One of the goons lines him up through a scope, and just as he's about to take the shot, boom, he's the one who drops. Fred nailed him. Tony just keeps on moving. Fred rolls the body down the hill like it's just a piece of trash, and the last guy tries to run and hide. But Tony's already there waiting for him and just shoots him straight in the face. And just like that, another group of irrelevant guys wiped out with zero effort. Back at the HQ, the chief tells them it's obvious that Pasquini is coming after them now and that they shouldn't go back home and they should stay away from the HQ. Tony just adds, or we'll kill him before Pasquini kills us, which wasn't that the plan this whole movie? Then we're at some random dog track where the boys start harassing a trainer looking for Pasquini. And luckily for them, this guy already hates him. So he gives them the name of someone who knows where he is, and surprise, it's the same informant who got his eyes gouged out earlier. So yeah, he's got some motivation. With that, they head over to the one-eyed guy's place, and instead of roughing him up, they actually pay him the money he owes Pasquini, and they offer to double it if he sets up a meeting and tells them where it is. Later that day, they're just hanging around a payphone, apparently waiting for the call. And sure enough, the guy rings them with the location, Pasquini's boat at 3 o'clock. So the boys hop on their motorcycle.
Ha! Gay!
It's never going to get old. And they head out. Once at the boat, they grab the woman acting as a lookout on the deck and head inside. But Pasquini's not there. Instead, he's across the dock watching the whole thing. And his goon is sitting there with an explosive plunger ready to blow up the boat. Inside, Fred, Tony, and the one-eyed guy and the random lady are just standing around like, well, that didn't work. Pasquini gives the signal, the goon goes to hit the plunger, bang, a shot rings out, and it's the chief. He sniped the goon before he could blow it up, and then immediately just shoots Pasquini himself. The boys hear the shots, run over, and the chief just casually stops his car, tells them something about how a trial takes preparation, which, okay, and then just drives off. Instead of, checking anything or making sure people are clear, the boys just walk over, grab the plunger, and hit it, blowing up a miniature version of the boat, which I'm pretty sure still had people on it. And just like that, credits roll. So yeah, that kind of sucked. Mind you, it sure was entertaining. These cops are straight up terrible. They don't even try to arrest anyone. They just murder everybody on sight. No one in the movie even seems to care. They've been looking for Pasquini for 4 years? How? The guy isn't even hiding. And the chief? What the hell was that? He knows exactly what Fred and Tony are doing the whole time, but he just looks the other way. And then just randomly shows up at the end and shoots Pasquini himself? Why? There's no setup. He had no vendetta. Nothing. It just happens. The movie also falls into that classic bad movie trap where it doesn't even get to the main plot until the last 20 minutes. The rest of the time it's just these two dicking around doing random stuff until the movie suddenly remembers it has a villain. And honestly, the biggest question is, why are these two grown men riding around together on a motorcycle? And they live together too? Very questionable.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
The movie even keeps trying to prove they're not gay by constantly having them flirt with women and hook up. Like that whole scene at Pasquini's sister's place, which was just wild. And through all this, Fred and Tony face absolutely zero consequences for anything they do. The dialogue can be a bit rough too. There were definitely moments where I had to rewind just to figure what they were even saying, and sometimes I still couldn't. But hey, there are a few cool stunts, some solid low-budget gore, and honestly, a pretty great title. But that's about all it's got going for it. I should have known better than diving into a late 70s Italian cop movie. But let's be real, I'm probably going to watch more anyway. So let me know in the comments, what Italian cop movie should I check out next? Hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Hold up. Hey.
Look what I bought for you.
I paid for them.
They'll be hell to pay if they're missed. Take them back.
Blew it again.
A job coming up?
Yes, there's a plan to rob a jewelry shop in Piazza Bologna tomorrow. A crew of 3 radical professionals. Our source has a grade 1 record to back him.
And who gets it?
Well, why not ask the captain?
Never mind about him. I meant, who gets to go to bed with you? Do I?
Or do I?
You both may.
What a sport you are. One of us gets it first by my rules. I'm against threesomes.
Oh, but after I screw you, I can screw him. And bring a couple of friends if you want to. You take a woman to bed, and what do you give to her? When you reach your extent of possibility, I mean after only 1 or 2 or 3 orgasms, we women have more in us than you think. I'm prepared to go all night.
Don't give me
I know
that.
better. Convince you that a woman's superiority is a fable.
Terms like inferior and superior go with male phallocracy.
Fallow what?
Phallocracy.
That means keeping women in their proper place with a stiff rod. She supposes all men are like the 1 or 2 queers she's had in her bed.
When the fox can't reach the grapes, he says they're sour.
Well, I've tired out as many as they come, so what do you say?
They already tired you.
What'd you do that for?
I turned it off because you're deaf with it on.
I can hear with it on, you bastard.
Well, answer.
He's screwing your mother, one of her kind.
Here's your month's wages, Rosa. Say, how's your pretty niece who came when you were sick? She cooperated in every way.
From top to bottom.
And what a bottom!
You bastard! Go on! Play your smart-ass tricks! Laugh your